Welcome again to another rendition of Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews. My name is Sir Royce Briales, and I'm with my prestigious co-host, Dr. Raheem Young. How's it going, my brother?
Everything's well, man. I think it's alright.
Man, same here, bro. Just crank my AC up. It's getting hot out here in Chicago. I'm also pleased to announce we have a special guest, Curtis May. How's it going, brother?
It's going great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living or for a purpose? And also, how many kids you got and what are their ages?
Okay, so I am the anti-Wall Street financial strategist. So I teach people how money works. So I've been in financial services where I have a firm called Practical Wealth Solutions, and I'm a host of a podcast called The Practical Wealth Show. And so, I teach people how money works. I believe that what you know today will determine where you'll be at 5 to 10 years from now. And the number one problem I see is people just don't really understand the game. So my business is teaching people the game of money. And, I want to empower people because you build a community from the bottom up, one family at a time, not from the top down. So that's what I do. I work with people. I help them implement. I teach strategies that help them become and remain financially free. And I help them, not strategies, principles that help them become and remain financially free. And so that's a big nutshell. I've been doing it since 1980. Oh, golly, I'm old. 35 years, a little over 35 years. And I'm a father of 3 daughters. As of this recording, 21, 19, and 11. So 2 in college and 1 going into 6th grade in the fall.
So, growing up, what was like one of the biggest, financial mistakes or no-nos that you were taught to do that you had to overcome?
Let me see. That's a good question. I say not so much growing up. I was probably say, I got into the business into financial industry at 20. So I guess I was still not grown, right? Because we didn't talk about investing when I was a kid, but my family was self-employed, right? So we owned a supermarket. So my dad told me, you're never making money, work for somebody else. So I never got that go get a good job talk. I thought you majored in business to go into business. And so it didn't occur to me to get a job. So I learned that at an early age. And then I got into a company where I became like a Dave Ramsey on steroids. So I was teaching buy term investor difference. I was teaching what I call today in our system the accumulation theory. So I found out, buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, try to pay your house off early. So I was indoctrinated with that stuff. I was evangelical about that stuff. And what I found is none of that stuff works like you think it works. It doesn't really work, and it doesn't really serve you. And you're the only one whose money is at risk. So it's all of that dogma that people are taught. I was into that, like knee deep. And I started to I read a little purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it kind of cracked my foundation and started to let me see that, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And or I'm thinking about this right. And then, when you tell me something, I'm a money nerd, right? So I kind of get into it and I read the book. I'll read the bibliography in the book to see what the author's reading, right? And then I wish I could show you my library, but it was nothing for me to read. If I'm really into something, a book a week. Okay. And, but at least 2 books a month for probably since my junior year of college, on personal development. So I am a big advocate of that because I'm a product of that, because I wasn't any good at any of this stuff that I do now, speaking and doing what we're doing right now. And, just being somebody that you could talk to. I knew how to sell stuff, but I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I tried to help people the best of what I understood, because my biggest fear was messing people up when it comes to money, because it was a serious thing. I paid my first insurance death claim at like 23, and I took a six-figure, like $100,000 check to it was a family member, and I've been, I don't play with people, with that kind of stuff. A lot of people like trying to do a side hustle and they want to make some money. I've actually paid over a dozen claims, so it's like no joke to me, because I've actually dealt with grieving families and was able to come in there with a check, not with a hug and some Popeyes chicken. So I'm coming in with checks with commas in them. That's how I roll. That's how I want to be roll. So come to the funeral and all right, yeah, hey, this is Curtis. Here's the check. You don't come back that fast, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so it's basically that. I probably learned that stuff in my 20s. And but the root thing I learned from my dad was being in business. And being in business is your number one investment.
So you talked about your dad, being self-employed and being in business itself. What have you taught your girls about business? The same way
I try to teach them the same thing, okay, but it's a battle with like public schools and college, and they're they're little Marxist college professors, so when COVID happened, I said, all right, good. I got like 3 months with you to kind of, because my freshman, when she's a freshman, she was at Duke. She comes back with all this stuff, thinking you're going to battle me on economics. And listen, you don't know. Go back. You're not ready to talk to me yet. Like you think you know something, because your professor don't know what the hell they're talking about. And, so I teach them. So I basically now my oldest one is starting to listen. It's like, all right, she was more of an artsy major. I was like, listen, you got to do something that's going to generate revenue. Okay. Because she wants to travel and do all this stuff. And she started looking up, this doesn't make any money. I said, yeah, miss, I want to go to Europe and I want to do this and that. You need to level up a little bit. And so so I'm teaching. I try to teach them to think. And now, like so what have I done? I play cash flow with them. We play cash flow. I got to do it actually more often. The Rich Dad game. I'll listen to them, and I will like give them a diet of books. Now it's like pulling teeth. I almost got to pay them to give me a book report, but like Rich Dad Poor Dad's, in 8th grade, I had my daughter read How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is powerful. I have
my favorite book.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, I have her reading, what did I give her? Cash Flow Quadrants, Business Made Simple by Donald Miller, which is a really good book if you're, for like a new person in business, if you want to work, because like she's got this, only one that says I want to be a CEO is my 11-year-old. All the rest of them are like looking for jobs. I was like, well, where you my wife is self-employed. You see anybody in here with a job? We employ other people. That's what the so if you're going to work, you're going to work to learn. Like I understood we employed other people. I didn't, the job was not the thing, because I need to be in charge. Like I'm not a really good employee. Okay. I don't like people telling me what to do. And I've had jobs where I didn't have to go into the office but like once or twice a week. And within 8 months, it was in financial services. I worked and did the retirement plans for the school district. And within 8 months, I figured out why I hated it, and just started my own deal. But, so you try to kind of, when it's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I can't force it down their throat. I've got to let them ask me questions, and then I'll kind of guide them. I said, well, remember that book, see how this happened, well, in that book I gave you on negotiation, everything's negotiation. So if you will do what they're teaching you, and then if you will supplement that with the stuff I'm giving you, because one of the things I tell them all the time is that your income is in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace. Not your value as a human being, but your skills make money, right? And so if you're listening to this and I don't make all the money I want to make, well, you don't have enough skills, because your income is in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace. So this is what I do when I talk to kids. I'll do workshops for them. can you make yourself more valuable? And they go, yeah, how? Well, I could, and I could learn a skill. I could do this. I can do that. And so you have to work at that. So what I'm trying to instill in them is work to learn. Don't just work for money. The principle of being on time, of hard work, of doing more than what you ask for, and then supplementing that with working on this. What I try to share with them. They don't hear it yet, but I've said it, so it'll kick in eventually. Your number one investment is you, right? You got to work on your mindset, what you think about, who you hang around, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to. Okay, you got to work on your skill set. What do you know how to do that other people don't know how to do? And the more you have skills where you can solve problems, the bigger the problem, the bigger the check, the more money you'll make. So if everybody else can do it, you're a commodity. You're not going to make any money. That's just supply and demand. So I'm very, I coached him in track and soccer. So it's kind of like hard work, the will to, what I think I've instilled in him now is the will to prepare to win. Like, you don't just win, you gotta, do the sprints, if you're on a track team and they ran soccer. So you got to do 500 touches a day with the soccer ball. You've got to do the work. You don't just show up and be a star. So I'm trying to teach my 11-year-old right now. You ran her first track meet. I was like, all right, you can't dog it at practice and not run full speed and think you're going to be good on race day. So now this summer, that's what I like about sports. Everybody's like, oh, my kids, scholarship and, they're going to make it to the pros. See, that's maybe not. Okay. But, what they can learn how to do? They can learn how to compete. They can learn how to prepare to win. They can learn how to deal with defeat. They can learn how to, because winning don't teach you nothing. You learn by getting smacked down and getting back up. And so to me, that's what's good about youth sports. And since I have girls, that's what is important to teach, young, especially young Black girls, right? About being involved. Fitness is a lifestyle. I want them thinking about other stuff than just watching all these little nasty videos. And so I'm controlling of that. Or, I almost can't even listen to the radio, right? And so I'm like, let's change the channel. Why did you change the channel? I like that song. I don't like that song. So I've got a police. I might start playing the Disney Channel in the car. So, so yes, is that I'm long-winded, so you got to ask me another question.
No, you're good.
I know that you said your dad taught you about entrepreneurship. Can you talk about your relationship with your dad and some of the other things that he instilled in you?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm who I am because of, he wasn't perfect, because he'd get me mad with certain things, but he was a great provider. So, it was, my mother didn't have to work. We had a store. If we went, one time we lost in this championship game, I had in high school. So we went somewhere and I'm pissed off. I didn't want to speak to anybody. And my dad, bought dinner for everybody. So it was my 4 or 5 teammates, the parents, that's the stuff he would do. So, you got an image of what, you're supposed to provide. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to take care of stuff. To me, he was Superman. He could do anything. And so I try to be Superman, and the only thing I told a little bit differently because he was in business. So he never really now, it wasn't a thing where you came to all your kids' games back when, I was growing up. He had a store, we had to work. He came to some, but I saw me play ball maybe from 7th grade to college, maybe not even 12 times, I don't think 15 times. Right. But we had a store. I knew the hours of the store and it was all right. So one of the things that I've adjusted, I'm there. I'm self-employed. So I coached travel soccer for 3 years. I was at most of the track practices and all of the track meets, and all of the soccer games, home and away, unless it was really far away or the indoor track, I could be there with them. I could take them or pick them up and I could be there. So I really, my wife and I both, our kids know they're very supported. We groom them, we travel, and I try to, give them experiences and confidence, because that's what my parents did for me. They said, well, like I went to this little private school, and he's like, listen, you can do anything you want. Everything they do, you could do. Okay. So we went skiing. All right, you can go skiing. And in college, my best friend was like, and my roommate was from Bermuda. I said, Dad, Randy's invited me to Bermuda. Okay. Go. He went and gave me an American Express card. I rented a moped, and I was in Bermuda for like a week and a half. And that kind of stuff. So I was probably maybe a little bit spoiled, but they indulged me, both of us, my have a sister, in that we're confident that I don't have to feel uncomfortable about being in certain rooms. And so that's what our kids are. So they're not, some people go to like a mostly white school and they're uncomfortable. So they got to do all the black stuff. Yeah. Right. Right. And so you limit yourself with that. I want them, you do what you want to do. I said, look, don't worry about a friend group. Go. Here's the other thing my dad said, go where the people that you want to meet go. Just do what you want to do. And then you'll find your people, because people that like have the same interests as you will be there. So I've always been a loner, and I've never really had a problem with just going somewhere I wanted to go by myself. And then I would run into people. And Philly's a small town, so you're going to know somebody. Every time I go somewhere, I know somebody. And so I try to get our kids to do that, to have the confidence in social situations. We travel, we have them on a thing where we're trying. This is a good exercise. So instead of, this is really my wife's idea. So this is why it's good to marry up, right? So we have a gang. We're trying to get our kids to all 50 states. So they're by college. So we're close. Now a couple have been to countries. My daughter went to Europe the end of May for 2 weeks with her friends, and from her school, and she was there. This is how crazy Duke is. It was like at least another 24 kids. Like she ran into somebody in her class at the Louvre, just like, hey, what's up? It's like, who does that? Like, what is that about? I said, so you didn't enjoy your little country club before you come out into the real world. But my dad just said another thing, and this is what I try to teach also. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
That's a good one.
And so you've got that how to win friends, influence people, treat people like you want to be treated, staying in contact. My daughter's a master of that, right? My oldest daughter. And that's what's in the field. That's going to serve her well. That's a superpower, okay, for her. And in being, going back and forth between white and black environments, she'll go into these all white environments. She's like, hey, I'm Lauren. I'm here. Like, it's not, she's like oblivious. People are trying to show her shade. She don't even accept it. So we kind of taught her, like, she'll create little dinner parties. So she'll kind of put herself in the center by having events, inviting different groups over. And so that is a real strong power play, right? And she's been doing that since high school. And so you learn how to navigate. And then that's a great book. So translate the business. There's a book called Networking Doesn't Work, right? So instead of running around being a nobody at a networking event, you hold your events where you're the host and you're the man, and you bring people to you. So I'll do talks. I'll do a meetup where I'm the person, or I guest speak at a lot of events. But up until pandemic, I was doing my own event once a month, and I would supplement with guest speaking. But you always, have something to invite people to. So that positioned me as the man, basically. And so I try to get our kids to think that way. Don't, be a victor, don't be a victim, all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I'm, the rhetoric I'm constantly putting into your head. You can do anything, you can be anybody, you have the right to be there, and own it.
Right. You're authorized to have authority.
Yeah. You give it to yourself. Yeah, you give it to yourself. And so that's that's what our job is to children will live up to the expectations you set for them. Right. And so we limit them sometimes. Or I've coached soccer. I've seen parents trying to live through them. So a lot of times, like when I was coaching soccer, you have these psycho dads yelling, yelling at them, and it's like they quit because you're getting on their nerves. So the main thing is keep them in there, let them have fun, and then they might pick up and become serious. But most of them are not going to play college anything, and the parents are all hyped. And I remember I was coaching. They had the elite, the A team of this, prestigious soccer club I was coaching at. And the parents were like, it was like a pecking order at these private schools. Oh, my child's on the A team. Ain't none of them playing college soccer. None, not a one.
You see the dads with the veins coming out the forehead.
Right. You got to chill. I still put none of your kids are the second coming to me and Ham. Right. And but if they work with me, they're going to learn how to win. I'm going to teach them to focus. They're going to, like I like track or swimming more, because the focus is your PR. What is your PR? Did you PR? What is your, like, I'm training my daughter right now. What was your time? She did her first race, and she, I know you can run fast because you're my child and you have the body. You just don't know how to run yet. You're lazy. And but I don't care about that. See, now I'm chill. I'm a little more chill as you get older, right? But I was still kind of chill then. But it was like, now it's like, all right, what's your PR? What's PR? I said, well, it's the time. Get your time, and then every week, I don't care if you came in first, second, last, whatever. Did you beat your best time? That's what swimmers do, cyclists, or more so in track and field. What's your PR? If you use your personal best, you could come in last, but you PR'd, you're ecstatic. So that's how I treat life. That's how I treat my business. That's how I'm trying to teach them to focus on, compete, but don't compare. Right. Is another little anecdote that I've learned. Whereas you gotta, one thing is I always tell my daughter, you have to run your race. So don't worry about what so-and-so is so-and-so, because you ran a 400. I said, listen, you got to run your race. You got to trust your training. You got to run the curves hard. You got to come out on the first, 200, 100 meters on this flat. You got to hit the corner hard. And then you've made up the stagger. And then you got to trust your training, and we'll fight through the lactic acid. But you have to run your race. Stop looking around, seeing where everybody else is doing. You have to run your race. That's an analogy I use with them a lot. Run your race. Don't worry about them.
Right. Don't look back. The race.
Don't look back.
Behind you.
Don't look to the side either.
Right. So you got a really big gap between your first two and your last.
Yes. Called tequila. No, I was kidding. Yeah.
What was your biggest learning experience from the first two to the last one?
Don't get so hyped. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't, just enjoy it. And I'm realizing that you gotta, because now, like, I'm way busier now. I'm making more money. I'm way busier. So it's like, all right, you have to be present, and you have to like, I'm telling my assistant, all right, let's restructure my schedule. I don't want to work past 5:30. And I don't want to work Friday afternoon, and so I want to be available so I can take her to track practice, so I can do this and that. So you got to craft now I'm fortunate because I can set my own schedule, but you've got to, you schedule family time. It don't just happen. You have to put it on your calendar. All right, this, like, I color code my calendar, so all family time is blue, right? I got to do this. So I'm to my wife, we have to go to a wedding. Okay, I got to put it on my calendar, because if they don't on my calendar, it don't exist. All right, so you got to. So I learned that, and then it's just I don't know that I've changed that much. One thing is different. I was telling a teacher, I said one time we were doing these conferences, and I was like, listen, everybody's different, right? So if you have 3 children and you raise them all the same way, you raise 2 of them wrong. Right? So you have to, everybody all have their unique little personalities, right? So, you have to be flexible, and we have principles, and you don't lie. You're not going to do that. We're, so most people are unchurched, so they don't really have any basic principles. I was doing some shows on, I do principles-based financial planning. There's the 7 cures for a lean purse. Those are 10 commandments. Those are as a Christian, those are you don't have, a lot of people have situational ethics and they do what feels good. And, you have to have a foundation, a moral foundation of what's right and wrong. And so to me, that's what's lacking. And that's your job as the father. You're to set the tone, because you have to be an example. See, here's the thing. Everybody's an example. You're either a good one or a bad one, because they're watching you. And so what are you? That's the number. That, to me, that's the number one thing. You have to be a good example. You have to be, a leader. You have to be a coach. You have to be, I tell you, I'm not your friend. I'm your parent. So we ain't here to be friends. I ain't your friend. I tell people that all the time. It's like, oh, Dad, you're, but like, dude, don't call me dude. I ain't your friend. Okay, I'm your parent. Dad, let's have a drink. I don't drink with my children. I don't care if you're 21. No, I'm not your friend. Everybody wants to be their friend. I was like, no, this ain't a democracy. It's a dictatorship. You do it because I said do it. I don't, so that kind of stuff. See, I'm kind of old school like that. My mother was, so when you see that Bill Cosby stuff, I brought you in this world. I took you out. I can take you out. That was my mother. Okay. So, Bill Cosby from North Philly. So I heard those sayings all the time. And I brought you in this world. I'll take you out. And I'm gonna knock you in the middle of next week. If I roll my eyes on my mother, she'd smack me inside the head. Now I don't do any of that kind of stuff, but I don't like disrespect. So it's like this ain't Hannah Montana. You need to don't roll your eyes at me. Okay. We don't do timeout. We do, you're gonna get knocked out. No, just kidding. That was a Robin Harris joke. I don't do
that. Right. So, you set the boundaries.
Right. That's right. All right. Yeah. So that's the thing. You have to, you got to model what you want as a father. And I try to do that. I think I had a good role model, and, so it's driven me to be a provider. And, when I first met my wife, was making more money than me. And so my ego didn't permit that, because I need to, you can't carry me. I have to, so ego is a bad thing. And it's a good thing for if you're driven, not so you're, because it's like, you like what's that movie? The show, The Last Dance. Michael Jordan is very egotistical, but that empowered. That's why he's the best. He hated losing. He worked hard than everybody else. So if you do that, to me, you can say whatever the hell you want to say to your team, right? Because I'm outworking you. I was the same way in high school. Nowhere near as good, but I was the same way. I hated losing. If you were dogging it, I didn't lose a wind sprint. One time I had a stress fracture my junior year. I said, look, I'm beating y'all on a broken leg, because the coach would make us do suicides. And then he would say, all right, if you beat Curtis, you can stop. So all of a sudden they would rest up and they would take runs at me. And I never let them lose. And Curtis, I'm the captain of the team. You can't lose, right? I'm gonna make you run more. So I was like, all right. So I would beat him and then tell him I beat him. Okay. I haven't changed that much, even in business. I really haven't changed that much. But, they're not quite as cocky as me. They're nowhere near as cocky as me. But I try to bring that out of them. Like, I want them to be confident that, you're that girl. And because people try to make you feel inferior to make themselves feel good. And you have to have enough confidence in yourself to take it and not let them knock you off. So it's a lot of little stuff like that that we have that I try to do with them. Does that make sense? That help?
Yeah.
So like, what, before you became a father, what was your expectations of fatherhood? And
this is what I had a good role model of that, and I was late. I don't think we had my daughter. So I got married at 32-ish, like a week before my 33rd birthday. And then we had our first daughter, like I was 36. So I was, and it wasn't by accident, because people say Happy Father's Day. I'm like 27, 28. Nope, I'm not. Why not? Because I don't leave home without my raincoat. Right. So, and somebody told me that. So, right. So I had seen people with, child support stuff, and, and my wife, does that. She's an attorney. So I see it all the time. I was like, listen, y'all, you have to be more discerning with who you lay down with. And I think that, that costs a lot of money. I was coaching these young guys when I was doing a financial education. I said, listen, they were like 19 to about 24, and they were being trained in the trades, right? So they're going to come out like 20, 21, 22, no student loan debt, making, what did they make? $23 an hour, $23.90 an hour, something crazy. They're like 40 something thousand living at home. And I said, and I had them saving, and I told them to save 20, 25% of every check they got. And I said, listen, I just tell them, so you chase the money, the woman will chase you. Okay. And so don't be running after all these chicken heads because you're making money, or you're going to get yourself a car, because we helped them build up to get himself a car so they could get to the job sites, and get the right tools and the boots, and, and stay focused, have a plan, and stay focused on that. And I talked to them about, they don't use these words anymore, being equally yoked. This is, I went to Christian school, right? And develop, meeting a virtuous woman that so when you come together, you're better. And so you're going to mess around, but the thing is, you have to be searching for that, that you have a similar background, similar values about child rearing and that kind of stuff, that I disagree like politically and whatever, but we're simpatico on raising kids. Because my persona on the podcast is I'm the Black libertarian. And because my theme is strength. You got to stop looking for other people to solve your problems. So you got to understand the game, play the game, and stop being a victim. So I kind of, if I'm in certain settings, I will go there with people because I can go there when other people can't. So I do. Out of love though, but I can go there on you.
So if my math serves me correct, you've been married over 20 years.
24 years this June.
What do you attribute?
That's June's a busy month. So
what do you attribute your longevity to?
Well, somebody told me, you get married, just remember these two words. Yes, dear. No, yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to decide that you're going to have a great life. Like people fall in and out of love and whatever, because you didn't. Being a financial advisor, I would meet with people that when I went through marriage counseling, I realized these people did not go through marriage counseling because they really shouldn't have been together. They're not simpatico. They have one's a spendthrift and one's a whatever. So it's really understanding what's important and what kind of life that you want to build together. And I think you have to do that and you have to work at it. I'm still guilty of not being present because I'm a quasi workaholic. But we understand each other. And so that's the thing. It's communicate, it's making sure you have similar values, that you're going in the same place, that you want a great life, you want to have great kids, you want to have a great marriage, and you've got to stay on it. And it's not easy, and you ain't gonna like each other all the time, but that doesn't matter. So you got to decide that you want to be married, and do you take commitment? Personally, I remember I was dating, people was like, oh, he's afraid of commitment. No, I'm not afraid of commitment. I take commitment very seriously. So I don't like you. You got to deal with that, right? No, I'm not gay. I don't like you. All right. So don't, that's the stuff you hear when you're 20s. Oh, what's something wrong with it? Ain't nothing wrong with me. I don't like you. So, and, but you're always searching for, so I could date people I want to interview. It's like an interview if I'm going out with you, because I need to see your parents. I want to see what your mom looks like. I want to see what you think about. I want to see your values. I want to, are we seek similar backgrounds? And so if you've done that strategy, then you already know. I knew that I would be going to, I expected to be winning trips, going to places where you got to, go at high level resorts and that kind of stuff, and I needed, or banquets, you need somebody that's comfortable in that stuff. I remember I was dating people earlier in life and they weren't comfortable being around the other sex, the other groups, other ethnic groups. They weren't comfortable with that, being in where you might be the only Black in the person in the meeting. Usually when I go to stuff, I'm if not the only one, less than 10%. That's never bothered me because I'm a cocky guy. It's no thing. I'm the man. So I walk in like that. So,
What has your wife taught you about you?
So when you think you're doing something, it's like, yeah, all right, I hear you. You're brilliant. But can you take the trash out? It's like so, and it's, I always tell people if I need somebody smarter than me. And that I respect that can give me back and forth ideas. And we think differently. What does she call it? Ideating. Just brainstorming on stuff. So that's important. And so that kind of stuff, more so she's more of a people person than me. I'm kind of an introvert, and I don't really, my kids don't believe me, but I'm by nature an introvert, and I can talk though, but you need to get me on something I'm interested in talking about. Otherwise, I don't really have a whole lot to say. I'm the type of person that'll have a beer in a corner and sit down and read a book somewhere. I mean, I don't need to be, I'm in a people business, but I don't, crave to be the center of the attention. That's not my nature, but I can be the center of attention or be extroverted on demand. That's why I teach our kids to get into personal development, reading a book a month, because I've learned, all right, if I'm going to be in a people business, I've got to learn how to be a people person. If I'm going to be self-employed, I have to have the discipline to work when nobody's telling me to work. Like that's the hardest part of being in business. Most people don't know how to work, be a work creator. They wait for people to tell them what to do. And so you have to be very self-directed. And if you can't do that, then you probably should work for other people. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm kind of working on now with, are you, what are you doing? What are you learning? What's the my daughter's doing an internship at Discovery. So I'm like, all right, what do they do there? What makes money there? What is going on here? You need to understand, you need to take a part of business and understand how it works. I'm trying to teach them to figure out what you do and what are you doing? What is your position, but what is it does? What are they making off of you? And how can you help them? What's the value of your work? Because if you understand the value of what you're producing, you can, if you're going to work with somebody for a little while, you can negotiate raises because all right, they're paying you. My dad just said, look, there's nobody going to pay you $100,000 a year not to work. Okay, so your ass is going to work, and so you work is what you're there to do. But if they're paying you 100,000, you best believe you're making them $500,000 to $1 million off of the work that you're doing. So I've learned to look at, okay, what am I doing? What's the value of this? And if they're not willing to give you my value, I will figure out somebody else that will. And see, a lot of people get stuck. They don't understand that you're not a commodity, and people complain about, I don't want to hear that stuff. Don't tell me what you can't do because you're Black. I don't care about that stuff. There's nothing that affects me that I do that. And so I teach them to not be a victim. That's one of the main things that, I will lose it if you go there with me. I'm not trying to hear that. So that's courage about libertarian coming out, right? I don't, you can be, because you okay, yes, is there racism? Yeah. What you gonna do about it? What can you do about it? I tell my daughter all the time, if it's a tie, you're going to lose. If it's a tie, you're going to lose. So don't make it a tie. You got to be better. You understand? You have to be twice as good. And I don't think people tell our kids that. They think they can do all this dumb shit and clean up like their white counterparts. You don't, right? And you can't just do whatever. You have to be better. You can't, so for example, one of my oldest wants a nose ring. Neither one of us can stand that, because you don't need to do that, okay? And work where you want to work. Oh, just something I'm trying to say. Listen, no tattoos either, okay? At least not where they're visible, okay? For what you want to do, you already look good. You don't need no extra stuff. And it's a fad, but it's a permanent thing. So I'm conservative like that, right? So I try. So none of them have one yet. She ain't got the nose ring. I said, if you get one, don't cash at me for nothing. All right. So you got to decide what you want to do. So maybe that's blackmail. I don't know if that's good or not, but but you give them space though. See, I try to give them space. I want them to mess up because you don't learn. You can't. So we're never like, I'm not helicopter parent. Like I will give them their space to let them kind of think through stuff and figure stuff out. So that's what I mean. You got to kind of know that. I don't know how I know that. You just know instruction manual for this stuff. Okay.
No, zero manuals.
Right. But if you have a good person, you're good morals, you just get better and you work on you being good, the best person that you can be. And again, it starts out with being an example.
Yeah, I think every kid has their own manual. Like when you have a kid, that kid gets its own manual, and you kind of just take notes.
Absolutely. That's right.
Build on it over time.
Yep.
So speak to, we talked about the last child that you had, but what about the beginning of your fatherhood journey? Like, what was that like? Like when your wife told you was about to be a dad for the first time, what was going through your head?
Oh, it was exciting, I mean, and it was, listen, we were pictures, notebooks, baby christening with 100 people there, the whole thing, and so she got all of the accolades, all the pictures, all that kind of stuff. But it was good. I coached travel soccer. We put her in all this and that art classes, so we just focused that, the energy, it dissipates a little bit by number 3, but then we're making sure we're stepping up, making sure, okay, we don't just deprive child number 3. So doing all the same stuff. So you just gotta, you don't have as much energy you do at 36, but I do actually kind of, because I try to work at that, because I know I got a 10-year-old and I gotta stay in shape. So, and but yeah, I mean, it's different, and it's like, okay, what do I do with this little person here? All right. And but you just I don't know, by the time I was 36 though, so I was, it's different, and I had a good moral compass of, our expectation. My wife was 4 years younger. She's 32. So we were not like 17 or 21 or 25. We weren't babies. And which is good to be younger, because all my friends had kids at 24-ish, 25-ish. And so I remember we had our third, I was what was I doing? We had my 30th high school reunion. And so I'm there, my wife is 8 months pregnant, look at me like, really, Curtis? And like, hey, what can I say? And but it's fun, because now it's like, all right, they're active, it's stuff to do. It's, we just had a sleepover, like 7, 10, 11-year-old kids at our house last week for a birthday party. So yeah, that's fun. Got up, made breakfast for all of them.
Good times.
Send them home. Like, all right, it's 9 o'clock. Where're your parents? Get out. So that kind of stuff. So it's that's what we do. Fortunately, the business I'm in affords me the ability to kind of, I work a lot, but I set my own schedule. So again, it's the freedom. So you want to, same thing with even with what I'm learning. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the entire title of the book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What Wealthy People Teach Their Kids That the Poor and Middle Class Don't. And that's really, really, really important, because if you don't know anything, all you can teach is go to school, get your education, get a good job. And you're already setting them up for failure, because you're giving them industrial age advice in the information age. And you don't know any better. That's all you've been taught. So sometimes I have to catch myself. It's like, all right, no, it's a different world. The world is full of people, ideas, and money. So you have to, you grew up with iPhones, and so you can use it for entertainment, or you can use it to make money. You can use it, you got all this stuff. You live and breathe social media. Well, don't be a consumer consumer of social media, be a producer of social media.
Yeah. Be a creator.
Be a creator, be a content creator, be a whatever. So, I try to, my oldest and really my youngest, my middle one has no interest in social media whatsoever. She don't have nothing, no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing, which I like because it keep her focused off the grid. Like, she doesn't care. They're all different. That's funny. They're completely different, but they're great, so I'm really blessed.
So, like, what are your thoughts of, I guess, the current economic environment in America?
Well, it's interesting. Okay. And it's it's funny. You can't control that. I mean, it's manipulated. It's by the Federal Reserve, by the government. But guess what? You can't control. This is the main thing I teach our clients. You can't control the economy at large. Okay. But you can control your personal economy, which is your production and consumption as a family unit. Right. So nothing's either good or bad. It's all on how you react to it. So are you prepared for inflation? Are you prepared for higher interest rates? Are you, how do you protect yourself? I call it building a fortress balance sheet. And so that's why I teach something called principles-based planning, because nobody have a functioning crystal ball. So markets go up, markets go down. So you can't plan your life on what the stock market does, right? You have to have principles. So I'll just get running through those real quick. Principle one is save, right? Save what? Save 15, 20% of your gross income. That's what you can do, right? And principle two is maximum protection. So you have to play defense. So that's insurances, that's wills and trusts, that's adequate life insurance. Too many of our people are underinsured. They don't have enough business people. I work a lot with real estate investors and small business owners, not enough. They don't have umbrella coverages. Nobody gives them a clear asset protection plan. So that's our second principle, right? Everybody wants to jump to, what do I invest in? Well, nothing yet. Okay. Do you have 3 months of cash set aside in the bank? No, I don't. Well, you can't invest. You don't have any money. Okay. That's your first goal. I say it like that. Okay. I'm not a really good salesperson. I'm a Coach Curtis. You get me, Coach Curtis. I told us this morning before we got on. I was like, listen, she said, I want to own a trucking company a year. All right, good. Don't tell me that, because I'm gonna write it down and we're gonna talk about it, right? And then if you work with me in our accountability program, Coach Curtis ain't always nice, because I'm just gonna beat you over the head with your goals, right? And hold you accountable to doing that's what a coach does, right? And I'll help you do what you don't want to do to help you get somewhere that you want to go. And you need somebody outside of you to push you. And I'm good at that. And the third principle is leaving a legacy. This goes back to fatherhood. You need to leave a legacy of wealth and wisdom. It says in the Bible, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So how are you doing that? That's where things like life insurance come in. To make sure if you don't make it, you don't build the empire, the money is still supposed to be there. You're still supposed to have that. And so too many of our folks are underinsured. We think it's insurance to bury us. So I don't want to leave no money for these N-words to fight over, or I ain't going to leave some other N-word rich, with my wife, all that dumb stuff. Right. So if you said to me, I might punch you in the mouth at this point, because I used to hear that when I was younger in my career. Now you can't get to me if you think like that. Okay. You won't even get on my calendar, because my whole marketing process is a process of disqualification. So if you love Dave Ramsey, you won't get on my calendar, because I'm going to repel you. Because if I tell you, look, if you don't want to think and you just want to blindly give your money to somebody else, and you don't want control and that's scary, don't call me. I can't help you. My people want liquidity, use to control their capital. So the fourth principle is liquidity, right? You want to have 6 months to 12 months in cash. Right. And then the fifth principle is velocity. So velocity means, so this is how you do. So now you see, if you're doing that, you're prepared for whatever comes at you. You see what I mean? If you've got certain principles, because you've got your money rules, and then now there's always opportunities out there. But if you don't have liquidity, if you don't have access to capital, if you've not played defense, if you're not protected from lawsuits, if you don't save, now you get into velocity, which is, because there's two schools of thought when it comes to money. This called what I call the accumulation theory. So you're taught, this is typical advice: buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, buy term investor difference, pay off your house early. The rule of 72, max out your 401k. Okay. Do rich people do that? No, they do not. Okay. They don't do none of that stuff. They literally do the complete opposite of all that stuff. The institutions do the complete opposite, but all the stuff that you've been taught to do, most people don't get financial training, they don't get financial education, get financial training or indoctrination, which basically in so many words says, give your money to us. Okay. And so what I teach people is to what does Buffett do? What do institutions do? So we call that the velocity method, where you're taught to, so if you look at Shark Tank, like Mr. Wonderful goes, if I put $500,000 or $1 million in your deal, the first thing he wants to know is what? How soon am I getting my money back?
Right.
With friends. Okay. So he can do what? Put in another deal and get that money back and then put in another deal. Now, all those deals are still going on, throwing off equity, throwing off cash flow, but he is moving his money in and out of deals. That's velocity of money. Okay. They don't teach that. They teach you to buy and hold. Oh, you're in it for the long haul. But meanwhile, they're moving in and out of trades in the milliseconds, right? With computer trading and stuff like that. So nobody does that, but they teach you to do that. But while you're sending them money or you're paying extra on your mortgage, they are moving the money around, right? They teach cash flow. So they all buy investments that bring them back. And they buy assets. What's the asset? Something that puts money in your pocket every month, right? They will do leverage. So they're not trying to get out of debt. A corporation, if you look at a corporate balance sheet, or you took a corporate finance course, they will look at, if they had $1 million in cash and $1 million of debt, that's a balance sheet neutral decision. They don't see themselves as in debt, right? They because if they paid the debt off, they wouldn't have any money, right? Whereas they could pay off, whatever, $3,000 a month, $5,000, whatever the payment is, they can make the money they have make more money than the money cost them. So they're focused on, again, leverage and buying other assets. And then we've taught the rent term insurance. Banks and big institutions buy permanent insurance. We teach a system called Become Your Own Banker, and that's using properly structured dividend paying whole life insurance as a money management system. And this is what institutions do, right? So the funny thing is, everything I said that if you took a corporate finance course or the velocity method, all of that stuff works in personal finance, and it's safer, but it does require a little more work, a little more thinking, because one of the things I tell people, investing is not about buying something. It's about becoming something, right? Becoming a good business person, becoming a good investor, whether it's in real estate, whether it's paper assets. So it's all about becoming, but becoming sounds too much like work. Okay. And so, because it is work, and most people don't, you have to become a good father. I've probably become a good parent, right? And so you're all, because the process of anything is be, then do, then have, right? And so become. And so transformation is hard work, and most people unfortunately don't like hard work. They want an easy button. They want microwave success. And that's kind of what we do. So how do you protect yourself in this economy? One, you got to understand, you got to think macroeconomically. So you got to know so most people don't know what's going on. They don't read nothing. They don't understand economics. They don't watch YouTube. You have to be aware. So if you know what's going on, you will know what to do. Okay. So the first step is be aware. Read some stuff. Can you read 12, 15 pages a day? Email me, kurtmay@gmail.com. I'll send you, I haven't made a landing page yet, but I'll send you my reading list, and that will get you started. And you just have to be powerful. You just have to be where you've made yourself knowledgeable that, okay, success leaves clues. This play has been run before. What do I do? It's like football. All right, we've seen this formation before, and you're prepared what's about to come at you, right? So right now it's hyperinflation possibility. It's, but you knew this was coming. So if you understood economics, you understand if you print money, which is inflation, expansion of money supply, well, then the result of all that money sloshing around is higher prices. The higher prices are the result of monetary inflation, right? So if you go, and there's all these people with cash floating around. So people sell their house, and all of a sudden you put on a house and you get an offer 20,000 over the asking price in like 30 minutes. That is because when you have a lot of money chasing the same goods, you bid up the price. And so now you see it as price inflation, right? Of that. But that's a result of the government intervening and, printing money and, giving false signals. But see, most people don't understand things like the Fed and that kind of stuff, the Federal, Reserve. There's a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. You got to know why things work, right? Mm-hmm. Economics in one lesson. So I kind of teach our people to think, and so that, when stuff comes at them, you have a thought process to deal with stuff. So I don't care what's going on in the economy. Courage is going to make money. That's all I know. All right. And my clients are going to be protected, and they're going to make money because I'm teaching them to see the playing field. I'm trying to, it's kind of like pushing a rope sometime, but but I want you, because here's the thing. Here's the other part of that. This is what's very important to me. If you don't know it, you can't teach your kids. So one of the things I challenge people to do is, if you want to get good at something, what do? Practice, study, and teach. So I'll challenge them to play cash flow with your kids, with their kids' friends, right? One time we had a cash flow game with, my kids were like 15-ish, and it was like this one family had 3 sons. It was my 3 daughters and another family that had 2 daughters. So we had, between the of us, we had like 3 games. So we had a big game. It wasn't enough. So I facilitated. So I'm teaching people, they don't know how to read financial statements, and so by me facilitating, I got better at the game. Or you could do a book study, read The Richest Man in Babylon, do a book study with somebody, like, hey, we're going to read this together, and, offer something substantial. People do all kinds of dumb stuff, spend some time getting better, learning about money. And then because that's the only thing you control is how you react to it. So that's my long answer for what do you do in this economy?
One of the
don't be a victim.
One of the biggest nuggets I got from one of your podcast episodes was I sent you a message. I said, think like the bank. Like you should be
yes. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, thank you.
And I was like, wow, think about it. Like you get those offers in the mail. The bank says, hey, set up direct deposit with us. We'll send you $400 in 3 months. So if you set up direct deposit, you're making $2,000 a check, $4,000 a month. In 3 months, that's what, $12,000 you put in their accounts. They're leveraging that money times 10 to make money for them.
Yeah.
And see, so $400. So
yeah, because they have to have deposits to make loans. Right. And so they'll have anywhere from a 600 to 1,600% spread. So I show this example, like, you got to understand the players in the play. This is what I teach. So when people hear about infinite banking, they think it's about life insurance. It's not. It's about understanding the banking process, right? So in the banking process, there's 3 players. There's the saver, the depositor, there's the bank, and then there's the borrower. So who are the players in the play? So most of us, we are either the depositor or the saver, and we're the borrower. But banking is about who's controlling the all money's has the flow from one party to another, and it flows through somebody's bank. And so what we do is we give control of that process away. We rent it from Wells Fargo, from Bank of America, and you can control it. And so create a system where the profits that you're giving away, 35 cents of every dollar leaves most of your households in the form of debt to others. What if you could recapture that money? So y'all try to chase winning investments. 30% of your money is leaving in taxes, 35% is leaving in debt. What if you could bring that money back to you? And when you buy a car, you'll spend $100,000 easily over your working lifetime on cars, right? What if you could all banking is creating a pool of capital that you control. So what if you could put it into, take a loan, buy the car, and then take the money that you would have given the GMAC and running it back through your system. So now you've enjoyed the cars, you've got all the money is still in your account, and you've got the profit because you charge yourself a rate. And that's not even investing. That's just stop giving your damn money away.
Right.
That's kind of what I do. I really focus people on becoming more efficient, understanding how money works in your life. And once it hits your, what we call your asset column, never let it leave. Okay. And so you grow by, stop losing. You not losing is winning, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a bucket, and you're trying to fill your money bucket up with, you're sprinkling the water in. Most people have holes at the bottom, and so they think I can just turn the volume up. But why not plug the holes? Minimize your taxes, structure your debt, get out of non-preferred debt, you manage your cash flow properly, buying proper insurances to protect yourself. You got, most people have leaks in their money bucket. And so what I try to do is help them identify, reduce them, or eliminate them altogether. Now you keep more of the money you make because you don't have holes, because you don't really understand the game, how the transfers of wealth are occurring. You've got to be able to see them because they're there. You just don't see them because you don't know what you're looking for. And you've been told this is what you're supposed to do. I'm paying extra on my mortgage. I was at this conference. Guy said, he was at a table, said, yeah, I have this program where I can show you how to save, pay your mortgage off in 7 to 10 years. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. Why would I want to do that? He was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, how does paying extra on my mortgage make me richer? Well, you're going to save $200,000 in interest. Okay. Does saving money in interest make you money? Does paying extra on the mortgage make the value of the house go up? No. Does paying extra on the mortgage make the payment go down? No. Does the rate of equity have a rate of return? No. And matter of fact, you make it riskier because if you have more equity, you're securing the bank's asset, right? Because your house is collateral for the bank's asset, which is the mortgage, which is the note, right? So you see, you got to think like the bank, right? That's what I mean. You got to flip the script and understand that process. And, if there's inflation, well, some assets make money during inflation. If you own assets, your rental property goes up. If you got the right businesses, your volume of your business go up, your rents go up, but your mortgage stays the same. See, so but your job, we don't own anything a lot of times. And so you can't leave your job to your kids. So you have to build something. And then you're fighting inflation because right now, if all you do have is W-2, you earn money, then you get taxed, and then you get to spend what's left over. So everybody gets paid before you get paid, and then you're trying to create a life or invest with like 60% of your money, 50% of your money. Whereas if you're in business, you earn it, you get it pre-tax, you get to spend it / invest it pre-tax, and you pay Uncle Sam after you take out your legitimate deductions. Well, which way can you get rich faster? So this is how the Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So you got to work on your thinking. You got to rethink your thinking, because what happens is, and I'll end with this, Jim Rohn says most people have a money problem, they have a philosophy problem. So you have to work on your philosophy, how you think, right? Your thinking determines your attitude. Your attitude determines your actions, what you do, and your actions determine your results. So it's the daily decisions that in the moment don't seem like they're important, but if you keep making a bunch of bad decisions, your trajectory of your life is going down because you keep compounding bad decisions. Why? Because you are in a bad place mentally, and that's with money, that's with diet, that's with relationships. So you've got negative thinking. So a lot of these kids shooting themselves. They have money. Life isn't important, right? They've got, at an early age, they've made a series of bad decisions, and now they can't get out. And then all their friends have bad decisions. So, when I was a teenager, I really understood. I don't know why I knew this, but I understood the power of association. So we do that with our kids. We know all their friends. We used to have them over. I'm looking at them. I know the parents. You're not going to hang out with some knuckleheads. Okay. And all of my front door all her friends were like, he was in his group of honors kids, like cool kids, nice kids, but they all had like 1500s on the SATs. right? So you need to draft in that circle, right? My daughter took it like, a few times. She got like a 1463. She was already accepted to Duke, but all her friends got over 1500. So I don't know, we already accepted. She wanted to go back and take the SAT one more time because she just wanted to get over 1500, So if they would get a B plus and bust out in the tears, right? So I mean, that's, I don't know where they got that from. They damn sure get it from me. But but the thing is, then it's like, but okay, then I would flip the script on and say, well, all right, well, when you get out of school, does anybody care if you had a 4.0? Your bank wants to know your financial statement, right? So, and you learn, see, the real world teaches you different. You learn by making mistakes. So I had my middle one had like a perfection complex. I would say, look, Jade, did you make any mistakes today? Like you got to make some mistakes. It's not all straight A's. It's not all 4.0. You're going to mess up, and you learn by screwing up. So it's good I was older because I'm reading all this stuff. So now I put it into parenting because I have all this information up there that I'm pulling out of the hat. But that's the kind of stuff we want to be perfect. I don't, my dad, I told him I was flunked out. So I redshirted and I partied. I almost flunked out. I didn't realize you just had to turn your hammer. But here's what my dad said. I thought he was ready to kill me. It's like, did you learn anything? Yeah, I know I should turn in my work. And I was into my business courses, and they came really easy to me. So, I had transferred. So when I got into my junior level and higher 300 courses, I got a 3.0. I didn't even study because it was easy to me in my mind because I grew up in business. I could tell half the professors they didn't know what the hell they were talking about because they were reading from a book. Like you could tell it was coming from the, the podium through their mouth out, not from inside out, from experiencing this stuff. And I grew up in that, merchandising and, just growing up in business. And I could tell if you didn't, I can tell if you're reading a book at 19, I could discern who was winning, who was making money, who understood what they were talking about. And I had my favorite professors, and I had ones that, okay, let me just get through this class because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then I started studying business and reading how when friends influence people. And I started getting into stuff and learning about finance. I was like, why is everybody not teaching this? I was like, why you have to be a business major to get a personal finance class and everybody's leaving here to work? I just didn't, it was like, but they only gave it to, most of it was wrong looking back at it, but at least you had some clue, and so anyway, that keeps people in bondage. And I'm trying to help my kids get business credit. I'm reading this book right now by Laura Lamar, Make Your Kids Millionaires. So I want to have them create an LLC. I'm putting them on my payroll, and then I'm having money go into their accounts, and then I'm going to help them get their own credit cards and build their business credit. And my 11-year-old, I'm teaching her, she's doing lemonade stands. All right, we need to do a Shopify store. Let me try to make some real money. Like I'm trying to get them to think that you got to get outside down the street, and you don't need a job. You need to, or if you have a job, you still need to have your side. You need to get your hustle on the side, because security is the ability to produce. It does not line a job. So you need to make money, because you can get fired for one or two reasons, any reason or no reason at all. So in my mind, that's risky. Okay. So anyway, I've been on it. This is what is known on my show as a Curtis rant. So
no, it's great, man. A lot of gems dropped.
I went on a Curtis rant,
Yeah.
So thanks for letting me go on a Curtis rant. But I'm sure your people want to rest that they're listening to me Curtis ramble on. So, but this is fun. What else?
Good. Well, I asked you a question really before we had this conversation. What does fatherhood mean to you? And Curtis, you gave me a great answer. I'll read it to you. It said, it means being a provider, a leader, an example. I have to create an environment of safety, love, and support. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
No, that was awesome. I said that. No. I mean, it's all of that. Like I see I'm not going to share that story. I've seen examples of where I've seen the parents and this child got in trouble, like in an accident. They're facing life in prison. But I remember knowing them at like 13, 14 and seeing parents curse them out. And, just they should have been somewhere on a track scholarship, but they, you know, and I could tell, like when I saw what happened, I would flash back to my interaction with them, trying to encourage them, you know, and not seeing that reinforcement. So you have to be a leader, you have to be support. And I've seen the lack of that. And what's that's done. And so I didn't want to be that guy. Because I've seen that guy. And it's more because it's not just being a father is not having baby. You're somebody's baby daddy. That's not it, And I tell young people, so listen, nobody, no, I say no white man. No, you can't go to court. If somebody shouldn't have to tell you at court to support your child, that you brought into the world, no $150 a week what is that? They ain't gonna do nothing. Okay. And so if you can't afford it, then you need to think about that before you do it. And now and sorry, there's an accident, but now I've seen people. One time I was doing this workshop for these fathers. It was like a father's workshop. And they were like, yeah, man, these women, they messed me up. I said, how many kids you got? 7. They didn't mess you up. Your ass is trifling, right? How they mess up. You messed up, okay? And so you got TO with he's paying 25 grand a month in child support, that kind of stuff. You make yourself broke because you make bad decisions. So it goes back to bad philosophy, bad decisions, that kind of stuff. So I try to, I think what I'm trying to do is instill a good decision-making process in their heads. So if I'm not around, they still make good choices. I'm not worried about them going out somewhere and wilding out and doing crazy stuff because I'm not there. Because I've already instilled a basic set of principles. I'm not all over. So you don't need to, you get freshman girls, you hang out, you go to college, you hang out by the freshman dorm because they away from daddy and they wilding out, and they waiting there like vultures, all the upperclassmen, right? And because they just first time away from daddy. So you can't. But if you're confident and you've lived, my girls have traveled in high school, so they're not wild now. We get them a lot of freedom. We expose them to a lot of stuff, and even when we're broke, I mean, we're like broke. Like my wife would do stuff like, so I'll tell you this quick story. So what were we doing? My daughters, let me see, they were 7 and 5. Yeah. And they were reading Little Women, Louisa May Alcott. Right. So we, business up and down, we're both self-employed. So we're kind of broke, but my wife, even if we're broke, we're going to figure out something to do. So she found like a room, $50 on Hotwire. Right. So we drove to Concord, Massachusetts. We went to the Louisa May Alcott Museum, which is like the house they lived in. It was refurbished and they had tours. So my daughter had read all of the books. Like she's like 7. So the whole thing, she knew family, she knew story, she knew history. And they had the people from Walden Pond, Thoreau, all those people, they're all contemporaries, right? And so it was actually fascinating. And then my little one had seen the movie. She was like 5, right? So they were into it. So we now took this thing they were reading and took them to the real place. Okay. And then we went to Plymouth Rock and, that was a free tour. I mean, so we did all of this with probably less than $200. Okay. And an educational expense. You don't need the $2,500 to go to Disney, and there's educational stuff. We'll do stuff like go to Arcadia National Park up in Maine. One time we stayed at like a campground thing. We had a cabin. It had a washer, dryer, and then we would stay there. We would go to state parks, that kind of stuff where they would see stuff and experience stuff. Bar Harbor. I was going to Bar Harbor before President Obama was going up there. Right. And, that kind of stuff. So now they see that stuff. Oh, we've been there. What does that do? When you start to see that stuff and you stack up those experiences, and that's as parents, not just a father, because it's a team thing with my wife and I, but those are what we felt was important to kind of, raise them. They're loved, they're confident, they've seen stuff, they know how to handle themselves, they know which fork to use at dinner, all that stuff, because I'm expecting them to, be in those circles. They need to be confident. My parents did that for me. We used to go to eat steak. All right. And my dad was like, all right. I would only eat steak because I didn't want to eat chicken. We go to bang because I was afraid I would mess it up. So I knew I could cut steak, and be neat. But I was going out getting dressed for dinner at like 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, that kind of stuff. So, they told us you can do whatever. And they would also say, we're building this for you and your sister. Right. So it was implied that, you're taking the ball down the field to the next level. We're handing the ball off to you and you keep it going. So that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm rambling, but hopefully that's helpful.
Very.
So I know that you said you were kind of conservative, and you described yourself as the Black libertarian.
Yes.
So I want to get your thoughts on the Roe v. Wade reversal. What do you think about that?
Actually, I don't understand that. I really hardly ever watch the news either. I think that I guess I believe that a woman has the right to choose what they want to do with their body. I don't think I had a cousin that was like really she's like the only black Catholic person I know. But she would get upset about that. So listen, because part of the United States is liberty, right? I can do what I want to do as long as it doesn't hurt you, right? And so a lot of people have forgotten how this thing works, freedom of speech. I don't have to like what you say, but you do have the right to say it. Okay. I don't like the idea of them reversing it behind closed door just on GP. That seemed a little fishy to me. And going back, reversing stuff. I mean, I think that judges, Supreme Court they're not supposed to be legislating from the bench. Okay. They're not there to interpret the Constitution. They're supposed to enforce it. Right. Because it's the law. Right. You don't need to, they don't read, none of them read the Constitution. They just interpret the Constitution. So they're writing laws on interpretation of the other laws, but they don't, and the thing wasn't written for lawyers. It was written for plain people. Now, were we enslaved when they wrote it? Yes. Let me just go there for a second. So I get that. Right. But it's still, Dr. King liked the Bill of Rights. He just wanted it to apply to us. I mean, it was a good document. Right. And it was an experiment because everybody else, if you weren't, like, a lot of people will come here from Europe, for example, and if they weren't firstborn, the firstborn inherited everything. So here they could come back to the United States and build something from scratch. I mean, even Black people that were if you listen to Tom, see what happens. One thing you got to do is because I try to get my kids are here. They don't read it, but I'll try to get them like Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, my favorite economist. And so we don't really know the history of our people, people, so so the Roe v. Wade thing, that's about all I know. So I'm staying in my lane because I don't like that you overturn it and some brother ramble off another subject, but I'm conservative in the sense that I think that I want control over my life. So I don't like people telling me what to do. So that's liberty. And I'm not looking for anybody to take care of me. Right. And a lot of people feel like, oh, if so-and-so is a Republican, they're a sellout. Republican, Democrat, they're both the same. Okay. So all the rest of it's theater. One of them believes in tax and spend, one of them wants to borrow and spend, but they both goal is collectivism. They want to run your life. Okay. So all this left, right, that's all. And see, people don't realize most Black people were Republican up until LBJ. My dad was a Republican. My grandfather was a Republican because that's the party of Lincoln that set you free. Right. But if you're in business, my dad's just like, oh, I like Nixon. He's like, I remember I didn't know what up from that. I didn't know what it was. Right. He was like, oh, I like Nixon. I made money with Nixon. Right. So he voted his wallet because he didn't want like all of the civil rights stuff, Nixon was not trying to, from what I read, trying to do the civil rights stuff, but he would make things available for young entrepreneurs. If they wanted to do stuff, he would make it available for you to do. So my dad was early 30s, and he walked through that door and he controlled it. So, my grandfather had a sewing contract, and he employed like 18, 20 people in the 50s. Right. So I look at that. So people say, well, you can't do this and they won't let us do that. I look at, all right, well, look at Dennis Kimbro's book, Success Secrets of Black Millionaires. The Black Fortunes, which is I can't remember the author right now, but it's a review of first generation Black millionaires out of slavery, and how far we've come. So if you can get here and survive mental patches, guess what? You can do whatever the hell you want to do. You can do that. So you're stronger in that. And I think that you got to recognize that. So that's, so I try not to be a victim, and I don't let people be a victim. So that's where that comes from. It's like, listen, you can win. And I want to encourage people to it's not perfect. Like I tell my daughters, look, if it's a tie, you're going to lose. So be better, because that's the only thing you can control. I can't make you like me. If you discriminate with me, you don't want to work with me because I'm Black, whose problem is that? That's your problem. Because I tell people, don't do business with me because I'm Black. Do business with me because I'm good. And I happen to be Black, but I'm good. I'm the best. And I can create value in your life. So that's how I look at the world. Okay. And I try to teach them to look at the world that way. And you're so good that if they don't use you, they are paying the stupidity tax for not hiring you because you're Black or you're a woman or whatever. Right. And so that's what you got to do. You got to be better. You got to work harder. You've got to be better read. You've got to, all that stuff. You've got to be able to respond and not react to situation, which goes back to principles. How do you, what do you already have a set response because you have a philosophy about how life and business should be lived.
Curtis, this is one of my favorite interviews, man.
I might still get some hate interview. I don't know if they like that conservative stuff. They go like, who is this guy? He's a sellout, right? No.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. One of the last questions we asked, man, is if you had to give advice to any dad that's listening right now, what would that advice be?
Read that thing back I said. Okay, that, right? Be an example. Love your kids and protect them and encourage them and support them. That's important. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. That's it.
It's real simple. Dr. Young, we have a Hall of Fame that we have for our interview podcast. I would say this is one of our Hall of Famers. Dr. Young, would you agree? Can we put this one in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I'll put it in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir. So Curtis, if you had your jersey number back when you was playing basketball, what was your number back in the day?
22.
22. I like that number. So we're gonna put 22.
I had an uncle that was All-American. He was 22, so I didn't realize that. But so that's a May thing, apparently. Right. So.
All right, Dr. Young, did you have anything else? Any other questions?
No, no other questions. Just thank you for joining us tonight, and you dropped a lot of gems on us.
A whole lot.
Okay. I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I usually I'm being interviewed on money shows, and we're just we're talking finance and that kind of stuff. So it all is together, but right. I have a lot of opinions about other stuff, as you can see. And if you'll ask me and let me talk about it. So hopefully that, helps somebody. I'll give a tip is to read a book a month on money, on leadership, on, that kind of stuff, and teach your kids to do that. Give them some, I like, there's a little book called The Tuttle Twins, right? So it's like another little libertarian, but it'll take books like Atlas Shrugged and put them in the kids' books. And so, the principle of non-aggression and certain stuff like that. I've been having my youngest daughter read them since she was about 8. And then I'll trick them. I'll have my middle one read them to her. So now I'm killing two birds with one stone. And so if you like for more like this, check out my show, check out the Practical Wealth Show, and follow me on IG. And if you like to see like what I'm up to, and you want to, well, I want to talk about this financial stuff, you could go to IG and just click my Linktree and make an appointment, or go to the website, practicalwealthadvisors.com, and click apply to work with Curtis, and let's have a talk. So you can, people say you're remarkably consistent. So I don't really change. So with me, is what you see is what you get. So it's and I'm gonna tell you too. If I can't help you, I'll tell you. If I don't think we're a good fit to work with each other, I will tell you. But I really want you to learn. And that's the best way to come, deal with the economy, is you've got to get better. Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Right. Make yourself better, right? And because that's one of my favorite philosophies. So like, here's another tip. Listen to a Jim Rohn, go on YouTube and listen to a Jim Rohn every morning. Pick a video, I don't care which one, and you'll become smarter. You'll be a different person, in 6 months, a year, right? And he says, and this is really one of my favorite sayings, the winds of adversity blow on us all. The difference is how you set your sail, right? And so I work on, that's why you're getting better. See, I can't control the winds, I can't control the economy, but I can learn to set a better sail. And that's what I focus on. And that's why I try to teach my kids. You can't control this other stuff, but you can set a better sail. And they get that. We send them a sailing camp at talk about crazy off the wall things people don't do. We send them a sailing camp at like 9 and 11 or 9 and 7. They're at sailing camp, selling sunfishes and that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff. So I think if you'll work at getting better, if you get better, you'll be a better parent. You'll be a better father.
Oh, this is great, man. Again, Curtis, man, I appreciate this, man. This is, again, like I said, one of my favorites, man. A lot of gems jumping in.
All right. I want to see next year if I'm still in the Hall of Fame or not. Is somebody knock me out? Are y'all just being polite?
Well, for myself, for Sir Royce Briales, for our special guest, Curtis May, and also for our co-host here, Dr. Raheem Young, thanks again for listening to Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews, and stay tuned for further announcements.